Hello to everyone. Hello. Hello. Hello, Avtar. Hello, Anurag. Thank you. Thank you for joining in. Hello. Hi. Hi, I'm Kasish, and I'm going to be talking about digital nomad life, and we have a very special guest, Saurav Arya, who's going to be joining us pretty soon. He's an Indian digital nomad, and he will be talking to us about the whole digital nomad life, and will be sharing his experiences with us. I can see Saurav is here. Hello, Saurav. Yes, Anurag, today's live is about digital nomad life. We have a very special guest, Saurav, with us, who is a digital nomad, and he will be telling us about his experiences. Hello, thanks for joining in. I think I must add Saurav now. Hello, Yadivisha.
Hi, Kasish.
Hi, Saurav.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good, good. Thanks a lot for hosting this live. Um, yeah, I think we need to talk more about digital nomad life. I don't see many Indians talking about it, but it's the right time. It's about time. Yeah.
Certainly is the right time. I mean, especially with now that COVID has come in, and we now see that people are working remote, and the entire world has gone remote. I think it's time to address digital nomad, that there is a way of working like this. I mean, like, you can work, you can put in your passion for traveling together.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been there. It's been there for more than a decade, but it just skyrocketed post pandemic. So I was just looking at the numbers, and presently the number of digital nomads in the world is 35 million, and
Wow.
it just doubled in the last couple of years. So just after pandemic, it doubled in the last 2.5 years. You can say that. So so that means that it's going to grow further, and it's the right time to ride the wave.
Right. So, Saurav, I'd really like to know from you, from the kind of society that we live in, okay, stability is considered a very important thing, okay, and here we are talking about digital nomad life, and you are a digital nomad, you work like that. So see, I don't really think that this is something, like one of the professions like an engineering or something that you pick up and you're like, I want to do this. It requires some sort of self discovery. So when you finally decided that this is what I'm going to do, this is how I'm going to lead my life, what exactly was the entire process?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Yes, and that's what one should think about. I'll quickly tell you about my journey, how I started, and I'm sure that that will give people idea about if they are thinking about transitioning from 9 to 5 life to a digital nomad life, what they should be questioning themselves. Yes, and it becomes even more relevant in context of our society, because Asian society is very much, you can say, family centric, unlike how the Western society is a lot about individualism. So it's easy for people to just take a decision on their own and just change their lifestyle, go on their own, right? So but we have more things to consider over here. So in my case, I graduated as an engineer. I graduated as a mechanical engineer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
everyone else in India, most people.
Like all cool people do cool stuff, but first they do engineering.
Absolutely, yeah. First you do engineering, and then you figure out what to do with your life.
Right.
So that's how it is. So I worked as a operations guy. My first job was in steel industry. I was working in operations in a small village in Italy. So there I used to have time during weekends to wander around, and during summer break I explored a bit of Europe. But then after 4 or 5 years of 9 to 5, I felt like probably traveling is more fun than sitting in office and working, and that made me take a gap year. So the concept of gap year again is very popular in the West, and again not so much in India. It's very popular if you go to Scandinavia. In Germany, it's very popular as well. So it's very common for people to, during their grad years or just after their graduation, they'll take a gap year just to travel around. And maybe because I was there in Italy, it kind of I got influenced and decided to take a gap year. So that gap year changed everything for me. Also, one reason why I took the gap year was because it was year 2012, and I'm not sure if you remember, but back then there was this
Rumor.
this thought going on that it's like maybe the world will come to an end by December, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Because according to Mayan calendar, the calendar is getting over, and that may mean that the world is coming to an end. So I took that very seriously, and I thought that okay, if the world is coming to an end, I would rather see the world before it ends. So I took a gap year in 2012. First, I circumnavigated India, went all across India on a train, hitchhiked, and then went to Southeast Asia. Then traveled a bit in China and East Africa. And that 1 year was so eventful that I felt like I lived more than 10 years in that 1 year, and that made me realize that, oh wow, we can have so much out of the life if we are more free to do what we want the way we want, right? And if we are on the
Right.
move. So yeah, that kind of made me decided to take the plunge and live the rest of my life traveling and working at the same time.
Okay. So, but sort of tell me one thing. Like everyone wants to be a Saurav, everyone wants to be Bunny from Ye Jawani Hai Diwani. But what is, the practicality of this decision? Like, when we talk about digital nomad life, like you are somewhere, maybe there's no internet connection, maybe there are things not available that you require to keep continuing your job. Right. So, what is the practicality of this decision? And should one, is there a certain age or a certain level of financial freedom that one must reach to, finally take this step? Or you think that anyone can go ahead and take this step?
Sure. Yeah, that's again a very good question that not many people ask about. And if you go to check on Instagram and YouTube and search for the hashtag digital nomad, all you will see is cool pictures of people working from the beach. And that's not the entire reality of the digital nomad life. More nomads should talk about what are the cons as well of this lifestyle and give a 360-degree picture of what this lifestyle is like. So yes, this lifestyle it's not just about reaching a monetary threshold, as in a certain number before you take the plunge, but it's also about preparing yourself. See, it's a very lonely journey, I would say, because you're gonna be on your own. Most of the places you're gonna be on your own, moving around. So if you're not very comfortable with being alone, then probably you should work on that first before taking the plunge. What I notice is that Kashish, what happens is that many people they take the plunge, they nomad around for a month or so, they fast travel, and then they kind of they get burned out and they get back to home. That should not happen if you are really serious about it and if you are prepared. So if you really want to prepare yourself to be a nomad, you got to discipline yourself. You got to understand to um, how to deal with your loneliness, right? Like most of the time you'll be on your own, so you have to deal with your loneliness. You have to understand that your relationship's gonna change, because again, this is a big shift in the way you live your life, and a lot of your friends and even family members won't approve you of that. They won't approve of that because they are very much happy with their temperate lifestyle. So it will lead to it will lead to kind of distance between you or some of your best friends. So you have to be okay with that as well. So it's a very individualistic decision. So be very sure about that. It's your personal stance. It's your individual decision, and many people won't approve you of that. You would prefer to stick with people who are nomading around. Like you'll have to find your own tribe. So in order to be in the right frame of mind, you should be hanging around in the right communities, online communities, or even the offline communities where you will find digital nomads. So that is what is required. I'll come to the money part as well. So see, the whole idea about this digital nomad life is to take advantage of geo arbitrage. Means that change your location to a place where the cost of living is low and the quality of life is better,
It's
right?
high.
So that's
Yeah.
the reason why many of the Westerners they are leaving Western countries and they are flocking in Southeast Asia or in Latin America because cost of living here is very low, quality of life is very high. A lot of things to do as well, right? So that's the main primary motivator. So when you go back to the history and see where it all started from, that is where it all started from. When Tim Ferriss wrote the 4-hour work week, and people realize that if they are working as a freelancer, if work is no longer a location for them, they would rather work from locations which can give them more value for the money, if they can earn in stronger currency and spend in weaker currency. So for Indians, I do see that it makes sense to, if they are looking to transition, it makes sense for them to decide which location they would like to start with. Let's say if you're in Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, right, and let's say your monthly expense is around, let's say 50,000 rupees, right, but if you move to a hill station in Himachal or maybe in South India, and your expense comes down to half of that, then that's great for you, right? So I would not say in terms of what number you have to hit, but I would say that you just have to see what is your monthly run rate, like how much you spend in a month, and what location you can move to where your expenses will go down and your earning will be the same, so that you can have some savings as well as a better quality of life.
Right. So going back to the point that you mentioned about being distant from your family and friends, which also brings up a point, as you mentioned rightly, that when we are on our way, we meet different people. We might leave some people behind, but then there are new people that we discover on our way. But then the question comes in my mind that how is this feasible for women? I mean, could be like, a man goes, he makes friends, he can trust everyone. But when it comes to women, do you think that still there are kind of like boundaries, like there are in every field? Do you think this is still could be an untouched field for them?
Okay, so no, so what I see is that when you see the present distribution of the nomads, if when I say there are 35 million nomads, I see that I see that there is equal representation of men as well as women, and it's not just about one geography. I'm considering the overall nomads across all geographies. For sure, 76% of the nomads at the moment are you can say whites of European descent, but still, if you consider Latinos, blacks, and Asians, you see that there is almost equal distribution. That does mean that even women's have been embracing this lifestyle and they're traveling around. I do see that in Indian market there is in Indian society. Yes, I do see that the number of travelers or backpackers is primarily male than female at the moment, right? We do need a better representation of female, but I do see that this lifestyle can easily be embraced by females. I do understand that when it comes to traveling in India, uh, we still have to ensure that it's safe for them in all the regions. But when you're traveling internationally, like in Europe and US or in South America, in Southeast Asia, trust me, there won't be such concern like the concern we have here domestically.
Okay. So I read in your bio that you've been to almost 91 countries, if I'm right. Uh, so when you went to all of these 91 countries, what is your overall experience, like from different continents, different parts of the world, especially focusing on South Asia? And then which country would you rate was your best experience and which was your like the worst one?
All right. So, yeah, a couple of observations I made is that when I started traveling around, I noticed that how growing up in one part of the world, you have certain notions about certain countries when you have not stepped out and gone there, right? And when you go there, you realize that, oh, you were wrong, because media to a big extent is all about making you feel that the world is unsafe, right? It's like still we get lots of news about Pakistan or Middle East that, oh, something bad happened over there, but trust me, it's
You've
not
been to
like that.
Pakistan?
I have not been to Pakistan
Oh,
yet.
okay.
I have been to border areas. I have been to Tajikistan. I have been to that part of China which borders Pakistan. That is Urumqi and Kashgar, all those areas. I had option of going to Pakistan, but just that how the situation is like, and I don't want to be put into the bucket of Indian who has been to Pakistan, because again it will become slightly difficult for me to get visa for certain other countries. So I have kept it for the end. Yeah, coming back to your question, yes, traveling made me realize that we have been often wrong about certain countries, and also I realized that world is boringly safe. Most of the places I felt very safe. You know, as a tourist, I feel that even if something is wrong going on in the country, like a civil war or something, you're gonna be mostly safe. Don't worry. If there is something definitely dangerous, then you won't be able to enter inside that country. You know, that's how the world is at the moment. You won't be able to enter inside Afghanistan at this moment. You won't be able to get into those part of Somaliland where there is civil war, etc. Yeah. And coming to the second part of the question, the worst and the best, it would be tough to say. I would not say any experience at the worst. I mean, all the country has been very special. It's just different experience. I look for different experiences. Trust me, all the countries has been special in some way or the other. So yeah, if you ask me about any country good for nature or culture, I can say that. But overall, calling one country best, no, I mean I don't think that will be a right thing for me to do. Sorry.
Okay, so you're not biased towards any one of your experiences.
Yeah. Also, I feel like it would be. I mean, how can I call one country best uh,
No, I mean
without
it could
knowing
be.
what exactly you're
I mean
looking
it
for?
could be in terms of like maybe economy or how safe you feel over there, kind of food, how welcome did you feel, how helpful did the people were the people. So in
Sure.
those terms.
Sure. I can mention maybe five six countries and what stood out. What's special over there? Oh, mostly I would like to talk about those countries where not many people go or not many people know about. I won't like to take the popular names because people, I'm sure, they're already knowing about those countries. Rwanda has been a hidden gem in Africa, so in East Africa. Rwanda is like Singapore of Africa. So it's very clean. The capital city is one of the cleanest city actually, which is very different from the perception many people have about the African continent, right? People feel that, oh, Africa would be unsafe or Africa will, there won't be good infrastructure, etc. But no, Rwanda is very much different. And yeah, one must think of going there. In fact, the whole of East Africa is great for safari and for culture as well. Ethiopia is another hidden gem. Ethiopia is very diverse, great for food. Their food is a bit like Indian food. They have like injera with all different kind of condiments and like pulses, etc. So one should experience that. The south part of Ethiopia is again one of the most, I would say, diverse in terms of tribes, Omo Valley. So one should visit there. New Zealand is great for, you just can't take a bad picture in New Zealand. Same is with the
Okay.
Kyrgyzstan. It's so beautiful that you can't take a bad picture. Mexico is again great for food, and now Mexico is getting a lot of limelight because in the pandemic, most of the countries when closed down, Mexico decided to be open. So Mexico is welcoming lots of digital nomads at the moment. 14% of the world nomad is in Mexico. It all happened in the last 2 years. And also Mexico is allowing nomads to stay in the country for longer duration. They're giving one year of digital nomad visa, which can be extended to 3 years. Sorry if I sound like an ad for Mexican tourism, but I'm just sharing some information with you guys. And I see that in coming days, months, Mexico is going to get many nomads. With all the plans the government has. Yeah.
Okay, so you talked about digital nomad visa. So I want to come on that topic. I saw in one of your posts that you made where you were talking about that how different countries are now offering digital nomad visa. So would you like to share with people that what exactly a digital nomad visa is? How is it
Sure.
different than a normal one? And how can one issue it? Is the process the same? Is it different?
Sure. Yeah, just a minute. So, see, what happens is that um, post pandemic, many countries they realize that the travel and tourism market has changed because people who are now traveling are mostly remote workers. They are not like typical tourists and travelers. So many countries they decided to lure this remote workers and digital nomads, and that's the reason why they came up with this whole digital nomad visa program. It all started with some small countries, Caribbean islands. They started, then some East European countries. They came up with the visa, digital nomad visa, and now we are seeing even countries like Spain. They are coming up with the digital nomad visa program. So it's what a digital nomad visa is nothing but similar to tourist visa, but just it allows you to stay at a country for a little longer. Tourist visa are typically for a month, right? It's like even if a tourist visa is valid for the entire year, you have to go for a visa run after a month in most of the cases, right? If you go to anywhere in Southeast Asia, after a month you'll have to exit the country and come back again if you want to stay there for longer. So that's what that has been one of the pain point for digital nomads. Like many nomads have been staying in Bali. After a month, they would have to fly out and come back again. If you're in Chiang Mai, you'll have to do the same. You'll have to cross the border, go to Laos, come back again. So these governments they decided that okay, let's let digital nomads stay for a year long so that they can set up their base. So that has been the whole idea, and it turned out to be very successful. Mexico is a great example, like how they came up with this plan, and nomads they just came over from all different geographies.
Okay. So also about second part of the question, is the process of issuing a digital nomad visa similar to a normal visa?
Right. So they have certain criteria. So what they look for is that what's your cash inflow. So they would take a call based on how much of savings you have. They want to be very sure that if you're coming to their country, you won't end up being an illegal immigrant, right? They just do a background check. So it's very similar to the kind of documents you are being asked when you apply for a tourist visa, right? So when you apply for a tourist visa for a typical country, you're asked your bank statement for the last 3 months, right? Then you're asked for if you're running your own business, then in that case you'll have to share your business registration details. If you're a remote worker, then you just need a kind of a letter from your employer that you're going to be traveling, something which confirms that you're an employee working remotely. So countries have come up with certain numbers, like what they're looking for is someone who has in their bank account at least 5 lakhs or 10 lakhs, like that. So every country has a different requirement, but yes, it's about a certain number in your bank account and your profile as well.
Okay. Saurav, you told that you started your digital nomad journey back in 2012. Okay. Now, as far as I remember, in 2012, there was no scene of like remote work. Okay. Like for us, it has been a very new concept. So, when I talk about remote work and digital nomad life in terms of employment and the kind of job opportunities there are, okay, now for tech roles that are entirely based on laptops and computers and all of those things, people do have the liberty to, pursue this life. Do you think there are non-tech options for people who are like in this field, in non-tech fields, can also pursue this life? Roles are
Sure.
there for them as well?
Yeah, right. So, see, first of all, the word teleworking was first used in 1970s. So, from 1970s itself, we started playing with this idea of can we work remotely or not. 80s, 90s, of course, there were not much cases of remote work, but there were a couple of cases. Some people were working on the move. I started working remotely in 2009 actually. After a couple of years in that operations job, I got another job where I was working remotely for a British company, and I was managing their business in India and Sri Lanka. So I got this option to either set up an office or work remotely from anywhere. I chose to work remotely. For 2 years, I worked remotely before I took the gap year. So yes, to answer your question, of course, that time there was no word called digital nomad, and it wasn't popular. The Wi-Fi has not been there at all the places, like all the cafe you won't find Wi-Fi, but there has been business centers. There has been places where you can go and work from. Business center is nothing but co-working space. Earlier it was called co-working space. Earlier it was called business center. Now it's co-working space. So there has been some infrastructure for people to work remotely, but it all just skyrocketed first in around 2014, 2015. and then now. So, just I wanted to clarify that it's been there. It's not like it's just happening now. In fact, before 2020, people were choosing to be remote. But after 2020, it's been more like people were forced to be remote because there is no other way, right? So employers ask their employees to be remote. So that's been the case. Can you please ask that question again? I missed the second part.
So I was asking that, people who are in non-tech roles, okay, for example, my role does not require being on a laptop, I'm not certainly just a writer who has to send something. So can people of non-tech roles also pursue this kind of life?
Absolutely, yes. So,
And I mean, do you have certain professions in your mind that you think are non-tech roles and can still go for this life?
absolutely. So, for example, I see that people who are nomading around, there are many people who are digital nomads and they are into non-tech field. They are designers, they are marketeers, they are sales professionals, they are community person, right? So their job is tech enabled, but they are not techies. They don't come from
Okay.
the tech background, right? So
Understandable, yeah.
any job for which you just require a laptop and internet connection, you can take it with yourself. In addition to that, we also see that there are nomads. They are completely analog. They are not digital. They are traveling around and they are bartering their service, right? There are many people who are house sitters. Like they go into different geographies and they volunteer over there. They volunteer in organic farms. They volunteer as a house sitter. Like trusted house sitter is one network where you can find people who can stay at your place and take care of your pet while you are traveling around. You know, so those things are
Right.
also there.
Okay. Another major important thing is about productivity. Okay, like looking at today's work atmosphere and everything, there is this thing, that corporate is pushing you that they need more productivity, they need more capital. That capital generation push is so high that you need to produce maximum results in minimum timeline. So when it comes to traveling and everything, don't you think that there is a kind of a productivity dip? Sometimes maybe you're like, okay, I'm in such a great location, maybe you don't want to work. There are a lot of times, maybe you don't, there are different reasons why you don't want to work. When you are traveling, don't you think that it adds in kind of a productivity dip? And has
Yeah,
it sort
definitely.
of ever been a problem for you?
Yes, it's been a problem for everyone actually. Again, I must say that you have done your research really well and you're asking the right question because these are the questions people should think about when considering this lifestyle. So yeah, what happens is that when you're traveling to a new place, right? So that will be a new environment and also you're going there to explore, right? You would not want to stare at your black mirror. You would not like to stare at your screen all the time, right? So
Right.
what I see is that there are several kind of nomads. Some nomads are working remotely for an employer where they have to clock certain hours in a day. They're working for 6 7 hours or whatever number of hours per day, where they don't have a choice. They have to be present, right? There also, what is happening is that there are some employers, they have understood that the work should not be sync anymore. They are allowing their employees to work async, because they felt like now employees are working in different time zones and they are working on the move. So it doesn't make sense to make sync meetings and make employees be present at a particular time. So work is
Right.
becoming more output focused rather than clocking time. So my answer is that if your employer is making you clock certain hours, then probably you should look for a better alternatives. All the best remote uh, businesses at the moment, remote companies, remote first businesses are allowing their employees to work async, and they are just focusing on the output based work, right? So that will ensure
Right.
that you will have more time for yourself, more time to explore around. That's one. Second, if you are working for yourself, then it might be a better strategy to divide your time into working hard and hardly working. Like you can work for 2 3 days hard, and the rest of the week you can keep yourself open for exploring around, right? That's what you would
Right.
want to do if you're going to a new location. Or you can divide your day into working hard and hardly working. Maybe you can finish your work early in the morning and the rest of the day will be there for exploration. But yes, it gets very tricky, very tough if you are into if you want to work all the time and if your work is very much based on when the client respond, etc. You should be prepared for it, because once you are on the move, you might not be at a place where there will be Wi-Fi connection at times. Maybe at some places Wi-Fi will be weak. So please keep those things in mind when you are going to a new location.
Okay, that brings me to a certain question. You talked about working for yourself, and I see that you post a lot of content about entrepreneurship as well. You are an entrepreneur in yourself. How does entrepreneurship coincide with this kind of life? You know, I mean, you're working for yourself, you have an entire team that is working for you. How does that, how do you sync that entire thing?
So see, in the journey of being a digital nomad, I do see that many people, they
Hmm.
start with working remotely for an employer, or maybe they start with freelancing where they're selling their time. But I do see
Hmm.
that over a period of time, they graduate into
Hmm.
becoming a solopreneur, graduate into someone who is running their own businesses and passive income sources. Because as a digital nomad, what you aspire for is not just the freedom of location, but the freedom of
Hmm.
time, as well as the freedom of money, financial freedom. And you can,
Hmm.
so we call it triangle of freedom. So you can achieve this
Hmm.
triangle of freedom only when you're working for yourself, so that you are
Right.
the one who is taking shots, taking call, right? I mean,
Hmm.
see, I do see that for many people, even the ability to be location independent is lot. That means a lot of freedom for them, But
Hmm.
trust me, once you get addicted to freedom, you will be wanting more. Just the freedom of location won't be enough. You will also look for freedom of ability to work at any time, ability to work async, as well as the financial freedom. So yes, I do see that it's a journey. Eventually, you graduate into becoming a digital
Hmm.
nomad entrepreneur. So most of the nomads who have been nomading around for a couple of years, they are nomad entrepreneurs now. They are
Hmm.
creators. They are running their own businesses, multiple businesses. They have created systems. They are running their business in a way that they don't have to sell their time. They make money with their mind, because selling time is something which is not scalable. You have finite amount of time, right, per
Hmm.
day.
Hmm.
So yeah, they create systems so that they can scale the business.
Okay. Uh, so talking as you are a digital nomad, okay, you've been to all of these countries. Now, two things come in my mind. Okay, now you have freedom, as you mentioned. Okay, you have the capital, the money to go to different places. So, what is your suggestion? Should I go to one place, okay, and spend like just a week over there, or should I just go to one place and spend an entire month or two over there? Because ultimately, while it is a digital nomad life, while it is also about work, but it is also about exploring that entire place. So your suggestion is to just go and see, as a upar say, and take a raw look, or do you suggest going deep, and since all this money is being spent, do you suggest going and exploring every bit of the place?
Sure. Yeah. So see, there are phases of nomadism. When you're just getting started, you are like, oh wow, I got this freedom and I really want to see all the places, right? So in that phase, we call it honeymoon phase. In honeymoon phase, you are like on the
Okay.
move. Ki,
Hmm.
oh, there is too much of FOMO. Like, I don't want to miss
Hmm.
out. I'm in Southeast Asia. I don't know when I'll get a chance to come here again. I really want to go all the city, all the places, right? So in that phase, when you're just when you have just started your journey, you'll be more often on the move. You'll be very much, I would say, that excited by your freedom of location, and you'll be on the move, and that's absolutely fine if that's what you aspire. But eventually what happens is that after a while, after a month or 2 months, you will feel the burnout and you will slow down, because that's being human. I mean, we all of us, we can't be constantly on the move all the time. Some
Hmm.
people can do that for a couple of weeks, some can do for a couple of months, but eventually you'll slow down, and then you get to the second phase where you are more like a visa runners. You'll choose a location, you will get to know that out of the 50 places I have been, this is a place where I feel more at home, this is the place where I enjoy the most, so I will rather be at this location, and I will just go for the visa run every now and then, so that I can renew my digital nomad visa or tourist visa, right? That's the reason why many nomads have chosen Chiang Mai as their base, Medellin as the base in South America, Playa del Carmen is the base in Mexico, Bali is again the global hub for nomads in Indonesia, right? That's the second phase. Third phase is you being a nomad entrepreneur. Once you have been nomading around for a bit, once you have built enough businesses so that you're financially free, you don't have to choose a location based on what's the cost of living there. You can be anywhere. Like one of the youngest Bitcoin, Ethereum billionaire, like crypto
Yeah,
billionaires,
Vitalik.
Vitalik
Yeah,
Buterin, he's a nomad, and for him it really doesn't matter where he is, right? So he mostly stays in. He mentioned he stays in either Singapore. He likes Canada as well. Also, he prefers Mexico because how,
Mexico.
yeah, Mexican government has been open. So yes,
Hmm.
the answer to your question is depend on which stage you are in. But yeah, it makes
Okay.
sense to stay true to who you are. Yeah,
Whatever is making you happy.
exactly. Yeah.
So, do you think that this entire nomadic life is kind of a journey? Like, you know, how I see it, it's like that maybe I'm born in a place that I'm not happy with, and I'm gonna spend like almost half of my life exploring different places, and then maybe in the end, when I'm done with it, then maybe I would like to settle in the one place that I like the most. Do you think it's that kind of a journey?
No, I see that. See, I'll take you back to the history of where it is all coming from. So we all were nomads, and then we became settlers. And I see that we are
Right.
becoming nomads again, right? So before we discovered agriculture, we were on the move, right? And
Hmm.
I think that deep inside, we humans associate with more of being a nomad than being a
Hmm.
settler. Also, the
Right.
way technology is enabling us, and by being a nomad, I would not make it a nomad just about changing your physical location, but all of us are digital, like exploring metaverses as well, right? So in that sense, also we are very much on the move, you know.
Hmm.
So now we are digital first creatures. We spend more time online than offline, isn't it?
Hmm.
So, and in the
Hmm.
online world, we are not restricted by boundaries, isn't it? We are very much on the move. Like, although we are in India, many of us we consume content from US or like
Hmm.
Netflix. You consume content from everywhere, right? So that makes
Hmm.
you a global citizen, right? So
Right.
it's what I would say is that because of the technology, the whole concept of physical location is changing, and also I see that technology is enabling us to be on the move
Hmm.
digitally as well as in real life more often. So I do see that
Hmm.
coming years is going to be all about that.
There are a lot of lessons also that come with nomadic life in terms of detachment, attachment, and as you mentioned, traveling, being a nomad, that you know very heavily ingrained in our Indian culture. So, have you also felt those kind of phases? I mean, to give it a word, it's more everything that Indian culture teaches about, you know, about being one with yourself, being one with nature, not being attached to a lot of people, continuously exploring the gifts of God. So, do you think also that this life enables and flourishes all of it?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, a very good question, very good observation, I must say. Kashish, I really appreciate the amount of research that you have done, and you're asking the right question. So thanks for that. And yes, the whole idea about digital nomad life is to don't only if you are not attached to material possessions as well as relationships in your life, you'll be able to continue on this journey, right? So what happens is that it's I do see that being a minimalist is kind of a prerequisite for being a digital nomad,
Mm.
because it's you might have heard of this quote from from this movie Fight Club, that the things we own ends up owning us, right?
End up owning
So
us, yeah.
yeah, so that's what happens. So it's like the more material possessions you have and the more attachments you have, you'll be dragged down by those things, and
Mm.
the lesser you have, the more free you will be to be on the move, right? So
Mm.
I most of the nomads, they are very much self-sustained. They don't have many of the nomads. They are wandering around the world with just 6 kgs of backpack. You know, we say that all
Right.
we own must fit under the seat in front of you. Like when you take the flight and you're asked that put your luggage under the seat in front of you, we say
Mm.
that that's all you should be owning. Many people are able to live their life with just that, you know. And
Mm.
also in terms of relationships, they have kept their relationships to in a way that they are not getting dragged by their friends or family or
Hmm.
relationships they're part of. Yeah.
Okay. That was lovely to know. And just to end this session, for people like us who are very young, just at the cusp of exploring the world, just stepping in the real world as a professional digital nomad and entrepreneur, what are your few tips, the first steps that we should take if we want to step into this kind of world? What kind of mindset should we get into this? How strong we should be in terms of moving away from a family, friends, and stepping into it?
Hmm. So see, I would say that it's very important to keep yourself updated with what's happening in the world, right? The way the work is no longer a location, right? And the economy is changing now. The creator economy is on the rise, and I would say that Gen Z and Generation Alpha knows way more than anyone else because Gen Z, they are born creators, right? So I do see that it's very natural for Gen Zers to not be an employee and not working for anyone else. I do see that more than anyone, Gen Z, they are ready to be digital nomad, sovereign individuals working for themselves. Being a digital
Hmm.
nomad doesn't mean that you're constantly on the move. It means that you can, if you want to. You have the freedom to do that, right?
Right.
So all I would say is that, yeah, keep yourself informed. It's a rising wave. It's a huge market. The present market of digital nomad communities is around $787 billion. That's a big market. There's so many things that can be done there. Like India can be made a destination for global nomads. We
Hmm.
cost of living here is so low, so their opportunities are endless. Other
Hmm.
big opportunity we have is that now that work is no longer a location, there are so many Westerners, they would rather hire an Indian person to get their work done, right? Because we
Hmm.
are very efficient. I see that Indian employers won't be able to hire Indian employees
Hmm.
because Indian employees are way more smarter, and they would demand more. So
Hmm.
another trend I see that Indian employers will be hiring maybe African employees, and
Hmm.
most of the Western employers will be hiring Indian employees. So I see that just within weeks, I see that the price, the is sorry, the salary for many freelancers from India is shooting up just because uh, now they have better clients. So I
Hmm.
would say that just make use of all these changes that's happening in global economy, and ride this wave. So it's the
Right.
right time. Also, I
Right.
would like to just share before we wrap up. One thing I would like to share that all I'm looking for right now is to create an army of digital nomads. I feel like all I want is
Hmm.
to pass on all the knowledge and whatever I could gather in the last 10 years. So, any
Hmm.
question about digital nomad lifestyle, feel free to drop me a message. I've been hosting remote boot camps every month. It's a 2 week remote boot camp where you can learn A to Z of digital nomad lifestyle. So you can join that. The next one is starting from tomorrow itself. So if you're looking to join, you can go to the link in my bio and find the link to apply.
All right. So I'll wrap up with just one last question. Since you have mentioned India, I would like to know what is the scope of digital nomad life in India? Like, I know that there are many in down south when we go to Goa, and then in Himachal and all of there, we do get to see nomads. Even when we go to places like Varanasi and all that are Hindu hubs, and we do see people coming from Russia and exploring India. But it's not really very mainstream, and most people, if you talk to about, will still not be aware of the concept. So, where do you think is the future of digital nomad in India going?
Okay, so I do see that India is positioned very well to address to the global market of nomads. Presently, India offers a 6 month visa to most of the nationalities.
Hmm.
That's a very good move by the government, so that if anyone
Hmm.
comes here, they can stay for a longer duration without even being worried of going for the visa, right? So that's a good
Hmm.
move. In addition to that, India has always been a place where lots of Westerners will come if they if like of course people come here to explore spirituality, and history and food and so many other things. At the same time, many people come here if they don't have, let's say, if they don't have a job and if they really want to live life on a very low budget, right? So because the cost of living here is so low and amazing talent, I do see that many aspiring nomads, many remote workers and nomads will be coming to India. We can make it even better by creating the right infrastructure, by creating the right experience for them. Goa has been a world-renowned hub. Himachal is also has become. There are other hill stations and beach towns in India that can be promoted for nomads. Yes, so lots of possibilities, and I'm very excited about that. Yeah.
Okay. So thank you so much, Saurav, for your time, for all the enlightenment that you have given us about digital nomad. I hope everyone who joined got very heavy knowledge on the topic. You have definitely given great insights. I mean, a lot of things that we were not even aware of. So thank you so much for your time. I hope you had a great time. So did
Yeah,
I.
thanks a lot, Kashish, for hosting it. I really appreciate the questions you asked. Once again, you did amazing research, I must say. And the topic has been very relevant. So thanks a lot for reaching out and hosting this room.
Okay, thank you so much. So I'll
Okay.
end the session now. Thank you.
Thank you.